Lana Beniko is undeniably the most popular romance option in Star Wars The Old Republic, being available regardless of your character's faction, class, or alignment. A result of the game taking a single unified storyline approach in their expansions of Knights of the Fallen Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne. While most of the game promos will always feature the Jedi Knight, known as the Hero of Titan, as the canonical character to partake in this quest, possibly also to romance Lana Beniko, many of us have played different classes and have romanced Lana in different characters that we have played. So in this video, I decided why not rank the classes in terms of which, in my opinion, is the least likely to romance Lana Beniko to the most likely. The Republic Trooper is a hardened combat veteran, part of an elite Special Forces task group, but Republic soldiers are, more often than not, the cannon fodder for any Star Wars story. In the Republic, Jedi act as advisors to the military, often holding parallel command with generals and commanders. But such a hierarchy doesn't exist within the Empire. Grand Moffs, Grand Admirals are still subordinate to a Sith Lord. Fraternization between Sith and officers and enlisted personnel are highly frowned upon in the Imperial military. In a previous video, I mentioned that a relationship with a Sith, a non-force sensitive partner will always be at a disadvantage and will likely suffer. It is true in this regard, furthermore, with the Jedi tending to be celibate and discouraging of romance and attachments. A Republic soldier simply wouldn't have such opportunity or inclination to romance a Sith, partly due to perhaps some assumptions that Sith hold similar doctrines as the Jedi when it comes to marriage and partnership, and also that the chain of command is something that he or she would probably not want to rattle. You may be a dashing pirate with a charm that few can resist, begging not one, but two baddies on your crew and making them fight over you. It's no denying that with that kind of charisma, a Sith Lord would have a hard time resisting her dark side. And I think SWTOR Character was also feeling a little nudgy when he flirted with her. But my only issue with this option comes with the form of connections and storyline. It's a common consensus in the player base that the smuggler feels the most misplaced out of all the characters when it comes to being the main character from the Shadow of Revan expansions onwards. One who is used to being an outlaw to suddenly be in charge of a galactic alliance, and more importantly to have connections and circumstances to really get into the pants of a Sith Lord, is highly unlikely. While the chances are never zero, I believe the smuggler is also the type of person who would genuinely want to be alone and away from the dangers of a Sith Lord. After all, your wits are your most powerful weapons, but being a non-force sensitive, you definitely do not want to be at the mercy of a partner who can telepathically tear you apart. Though the Jedi Knight is canonically the main character in most of the expansions, I honestly think that Lana Beniko wouldn't really be a possible romance here because I have a preference for Kira Carson as the ideal romance option for him instead. After all, Kira Carson was with the Jedi Knight since the very beginning of his training as a Padawan. And Lana is a woman that came in the later stages of life, a respectable partner as that, but I don't really see anything progressing beyond professional. The possibility of romance will only come about if you break up with Kira Carson. The truth is, red hits are superior to blondes, and I don't see the Jedi Knight as the type of man to just swap off his year-long fling for another just cause there's another hot woman in town. Beyond that though, I do agree that being two very powerful force sensitives would be an incentive for this relationship to come to fruition. One Jedi and one Sith. Though the Sith has a slightly more calm personality, I do think that it also comes down to the alignment of the Jedi Knight. A Jedi Knight who does a full dark side playthrough won't ever romance Lana, as he is the very thing that will remind her of a typical Sith she abhors and swore to never come into contact with again. As for the Imperial agent, I am on the fence about this one. Lana was, after all, for a brief time, your superior. when she was the head of Sith intelligence. I don't see too big of an issue when it comes to this particular pairing. Both Lana and the agent have experiences in covert operations and stealth. There also isn't really too strong a factor that can glue these two together, other than having a similar line of work under the same organization. Undercover missions would likely also take a toll on such a relationship, periods of time with often no contact. I would concede that perhaps the two have a shared dislike of Imperial protocols, especially since they are working under an organization that do not necessarily need to follow any orders from higher command. This could be something that both parties has a mutual dislike over, and this would be a personality trait that these two could bond over, leading to this pairing. The Bounty Hunter was the first class I chose to play in my first playthrough of Star Wars The Old Republic, so there's a bit of a bias here. But forget my past points about non-force sensitives being disadvantaged in a relationship. I believe that a bounty hunter would be up to such a challenge. After all, Mandalorians, in their blood, have the desire to gain honor of combat with a superior enemy like a Jedi or a Sith Lord in the battlefield. So why not win over a Sith Lord in the sheets as well? Lana is also a fighter at heart, and a person who takes on opponents way above his league is a sign of strength that she would respect or find attractive even. And I also think that this relationship has an added benefit that the bounty hunter isn't a person who is bound by imperial laws, so therefore a relationship between him and the Sith Lord will not be as policed as, say, a Sith Lord and an imperial citizen, so they are free to live their own lives outside the Empire, which Lana Beniko would definitely love the idea since she really doesn't like being around other Sith Lords. The Empire's Wrath, essentially the living weapon trained from birth, tasked with destroying the Empire's greatest enemies, and answering to no one except the Emperor himself. I think the Sith Warrior still falls under the category of being highly dependent on alignment. That, and the fact that you already have plenty full romance options with your base crew, just makes this pairing all the more less likely. Though, I placed him over the Jedi Knight because perhaps a lifetime commitment is not something that a Sith warrior may take strongly to heart. Because why would you get yourself attached to a three-legged slave or a broken Jedi Padawan when frankly a fellow Sith Lord with an ambiguous power level is in the cards? The same logic applies here though. A light side aligned Sith warrior is more likely to romance Lana Beniko than a dark-sided Sith warrior. A bit of an unpopular opinion myself, but I think that Lana's chemistry would actually work better with someone who studies the intricacies of the Force like she does. The Sith Warrior and Jedi Knight are formidable warriors, yes, but they are more familiar with using the Force as a weapon, mostly for combative purposes and procedures. The Consular, on the other hand, also studies the inner workings of the Force and determines the philosophies of the Jedi Order. I feel like this would work well with Lana, as she does have some interesting conversations with the likes of Nosturau, and it is even noted that she found Satil Shan's methods using the Force quite intriguing enough to pique her interest. So a Jedi Consular will also be the same. A person who is well attractive enough will pique her interest, and she may even think that getting close to a Jedi mind like the Consulars would be a way for her to study the Force better, so that she can understand how her opponents think or how other cultures approach the Force, as opposed to just viewing it as a weapon or tool that she wields. And finally, the Sith Inquisitor. As a member of the Dark Council, the Inquisitor is one of the pillars of Imperial rule that falls within the social circles that Lana Beniko involved in. Lana herself also follows a similar line of work, studying the Force. The Inquisitor is part of the Sith hierarchy that Lana herself doesn't like, but I don't see her having too many ill intentions towards Darth Nox, as the Inquisitor rose through the ranks from a highly unlikely background being a slave, so she's not too strong a stickler for tradition like say Darth Denethor. Darth Nox and Darth Ma are one of the few Sith Lords that Lana Beniko truly respects because of their similar approaches in terms of practicality and power. A union with Nox to Lana would be an advantage or leverage to take advantage of so that she could achieve her idea of true strength. It will be a mix of both practicality when it comes to having a strong union with someone, because Darth Nox herself came from an unprivileged background, and therefore it's something that Lana Beniko would consider. And that's it for this video. What do you think about my opinions, and who do you think is actually canonically romance to Lana? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you would like to see more stuff related to Star Wars, the Old Republic, or artificial intelligence, do check out the rest of my channel. Cheers!